Hey, Rent to Retires, it's Adam Schroeder here with Zach Lemaster. We're at the Bigger Pockets Conference, and we ran into one of our investors, David here, who has gotten some properties through us with Steve, as y'all know, as you've seen before on our podcast. So we wanted to come here today because we always love talking to our clients, seeing what they're doing, and David has a fantastic story, success story about his investment properties. So just really want to thank you for joining us today. Appreciate it. So tell us about kind of the property that you selected. Tell us just a little bit about kind of where it is and what it's like.
Okay, so actually this is my first property that I have done, and this is of course with you guys, Rent to Retirement, and I selected Richmond, Ohio. It's a 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. And of course I worked with Steve. And it was just a matter of like getting the cash flow in the beginning. That was the way that I determined that I'd like to go for this property. And then when we closed and it was out for marketing, I got a really big surprise. It was supposed to be at around the $1,400 a month for rent, and I got it for $1,845, which is a great surprise, but I'll take it.
Well, they don't always work out that great in terms of the rents, David. That's great. Just to specify, so you've closed one property that was leased out in Ohio, and you're also in process of closing another one.
Yes, right now I'm in just about closing it.
Okay, and these are the first 2 properties that you've purchased out of state?
Yes.
Can you walk us through the mindset of that? Many people are in this position, whether it's their first property in general, whether it's their first property out of state. Walk us through kind of your mindset and how you overcame that obstacle to be able to invest out of state.
Of course. Well, the obstacle is the fear that you really don't know where you're going to. You don't have experience, obviously, if it's your first one, like mine. But I just had to do it. It's just a matter of like just go to it, jump into the water, and you'll make it. It's just real estate obviously is the best, in my opinion, the best investment that there is out there, especially nowadays. So that was my motivation.
What were some key things that Rent to Retirement was able to assist with as you were getting started and throughout the transaction process?
I have to say A to Z. It's first of all the inventory that is on the website. You get to choose your market. Obviously, you need to go and just research a little bit of what you would like to go for. But once I picked up the property, it was like hand in hand all the way from, of course, dealing with Steve as the GC. I was actually in touch with Steve on every step. He was guiding me as far as the scope of work. I knew exactly what was going to get done in the property. After the closing, actually I shouldn't say after the closing. When the inspection came out, there were a few issues that need to be repaired on the spot. The next day, it was already started, the process. Within, I believe, 4 days, it was.
Yeah, I had everything back, and I had everything done, and I ordered a few windows we put in about 4 weeks after.
Yeah, after closing, but it was done. So yeah, it's amazing experience to work with you guys. Any questions, any concerns that I had were answered, and of course, at the same time, I was. Introduced to the management company that helped me out with getting the marketing, the property, and getting the tenant, signing up the lease agreement, and taking care of it. So yeah, it's A to Z, amazing experience.
So I'm just curious. You had the 400 plus rent over there. What was your expected cash flow versus what you were actually cash flowing today?
Expected cash flow was about 200 or 240 to be exact, and it grew to about 630 actually. So yeah, it's again, it doesn't happen that often, but it's a great surprise. And
that is a great surprise. And yes, they don't all work out that way, but sometimes they do. Sometimes it's surprising how quickly you can increase rents in certain locations, especially if you're investing in the path of progress, as we try to do. And sometimes rent comes in a little bit less. But I think the rent numbers that we try to showcase are accurate to the best of our ability. But that's how real estate works in general. I mean, sometimes you're out there investing and you're just making things happen and taking action. And some investments work out extremely well, some less so much, but things balance out over time as you progress. Let's talk a little bit about maybe some obstacles that you encountered, whether this was with, I don't know, maybe on the lending side, the title side, on the closing, mentally. I mean, what were some obstacles you had to overcome throughout that process?
I would say most likely would be the mentally, basically the fear of the unknown. But after that, after we actually started the process, again, you introduced me to also the lender, which coming from your network. And it was a smooth sailing. I worked with really the best lender there. Again, it's an out-of-state, it's an investor loan, so it's not conventional, regular rates. I mean, obviously, but we worked it out. But I don't know if I should say that, but I didn't have any obstacles, to be honest. I mean, I didn't think it's going to be that smooth, but it was. And now I'm on the second one, and of course, it just testifies that basically it was a good experience.
I love it. And we want to hear about what's next with you, David. I think also it'd be a good time to hear, Steve, on your process, being our boots on the ground team from acquisition, rehab, and management. Can you walk us through kind of what your expectation is going through, a property, make sure it meets the standards that we want to adhere to?
Yeah, so obviously with turnkey properties, we're trying to make it sure there's no maintenance, no huge CapEx items. So I always make sure the roof has 10 years of life left on it. Make sure the furnace has 10 years of life left. So if it's 10 years or older, I always replace it. Hot water tanks, if it's 5 years or older, I replace it. I put a new kitchen in every house I've sold. All the floors are redone. New paint, new lights, outlets, cover plates, switches. We always paint the basement too to make sure it gives a nice clean appearance. No one wants to have a dungeon basement. So that's kind of what I do with the houses. I always make sure I choose areas that are up and coming. Other people are rehabbing in them. So people are adding money to that area. That any city, there's always spots where people are changing the area. And that's what I'm trying to get in so they see the growth and the appreciation quickly. Hopefully they get higher rents than projected. Haven't missed one yet, but not always $400 over, but we always try to shoot for a little extra.
Yeah, and that's what we call being in the path of progress. Again, it's just in those areas that are going through revitalization and gentrification. That's where I think you'll see the strongest appreciation, both in rents and in price points. Talk to us a little bit about what happens during the inspection process. So we always encourage investors to get inspections. This is also your safeguard to make sure nothing was missed during the rehab or something that we just don't know about. And then what happens?
Yeah, so on an older home, there's always a few items that come up during the inspection. It's bound to happen. You're putting tens of thousands of dollars into these properties, bringing them up to above standards. So any items that do come up, we always handle them right away, make sure we jump on them. I want to set you up for success is always what we're trying to do. We want to make sure you're successful from day one, and I want you to call me in 3 months and be like, hey, what else do you guys selling? I want to make sure there's continual business coming back and just building that relationship from day one.
And how about on the transition to the property management side? What does that look like?
So I always try to, as soon as we have the inspection, I try to knock out the punch list immediately, like David was talking about. Have the cleaning lady crew come in, she cleans out the house, and then as long as there's a signed property management agreement, we're getting it leased out for them right away. I turn that over to the company that does the leasing in the area, and they've always been top notch, making sure they're getting rents that are above what was projected is always the key. So they have, probably a week or two before we close, they're looking for a tenant right away. And a lot of times we have someone moved in right around closing, if not before.
And so I want to go back to David here. You ended up getting a second one with Steve. You're kind of taking over the Rittman area. I think Steve said you should run for mayor, if I'm correct. So tell us about kind of your next one, kind of your next one? Kind of what kind of empire are you looking to create?
So hopefully, if everything goes well, as it is, I would probably going to go for right now scale to like a duplex. And I know that you guys have a few in the inventory. So that's going to be my next jump. And it gives you the urge to actually to do it because it feels so good, it feels so smooth, So yeah, again, the experience, it depends on your experience. If everything went well and you with the right team, you can go all the way up.
Yeah. So we heard from Steve about the property management. Tell us about your experience with the property managers so far. I mean, obviously you were happy going in because of the rent that they got, but there's obviously the day-to-day communications, the portal, all of that. Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely. So they do have a portal that I'm involved. I log in. I can see exactly what's going on, how much they took for deposit, if there was a pet, how much it was charged. Everything is transparent. The deposits, it's actually direct deposit. So I'm getting my rental income straight to my bank. It's just very smooth, very easy to manage. The lease is signed, and I have a copy of it, of course. So yeah, it's all out there.
Fantastic to hear. So, tell us why you wanted to buy again from Steve and not venture out. I mean, I know you had a pretty solid experience, but what gave you the comfort level to say, you know what, Steve's a good guy. Steve's who I'm going to continue to buy through. Because, there's other markets out there. You could have said, all right, I got one here, I'm going to go somewhere else, but you chose to go back.
First of all, I am a general contractor myself. So I know the trade. And I know how you're supposed to treat your in this case, customer. As I said, I dealt with Steve almost on a daily basis. He explained to me exactly what's going to be done. He done it in a timely manner. Like it was the next day that we actually started to do all the corrections. There were not many, but the ones that were there got done really quick. He sent me pictures so I can be exactly like he was my eyes over there on the project. The experience, again, if you feel good about what you do and who you do it with, there's no reason to go elsewhere. Of course, if the inventory is there and the properties that will give me what I'm looking for, then of course I will be continuing with the same guy that I've done it before and hope for the same results as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Great running into you here at the conference. Yeah. I know there's, haven't been able to meet many clients just because there's been COVID, and obviously the conferences haven't been happening. But it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. Thanks for giving us the success story. So everybody, head on over to renttoretirement.com. You can see the properties that Steve's putting out there in the Akron, Rittman area. You can see it all on our active inventory list. It's, as he was saying, completely transparent. And that's at renttoretirement.com. And we'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching the Rent to Retirement YouTube channel. Check out some of our other videos, like this one, or this one here.